I feel quite intrigued by the word enlightenment. And I'm here to unenlighten you. You see, enlightenment, which is mostly described as a state of permanent bliss, is something that is not going to offer anything to you of any value. Because any value that is gained will be lost. Every experience, no matter how grand it is, will eventually be lost. When people talk about being enlightened and implying that a person who is enlightened is going to behave in a certain way, is going to be good natured, good according to their own ideas and definitions of what good and bad is. So, first of all, there is an assumption here that they know what is good and what is bad. Then, that person should have a particular diet, a vegetarian or a vegan diet. That person should pray in the morning, meditate in the evening, and remains in perpetual bliss all the time. If one comes across such a personality, then there is a performance at play because life is not designed like that. And sooner or later, that facade is lifted because the humanity from beneath comes out in the form of aggression, anger, suppression, and bypassing. So, somebody, first of all, who claims that they have got enlightenment as a state of permanent bliss, needs to investigate what exactly have they gained. When we are caught up in these ideas that an enlightened person should be a particular way, then we are not understanding the fundamental principle of how life works and how nature does not alter its laws for fantasy of human beings. Somebody with psychic powers or, let's say, supernatural abilities, if they do exist, I don't know if they do or not. If such a person is said to be enlightened, the problem is that we are still identifying with an aspect of personality. Now, people can develop very strong intuition, very strong psyche, and there are some experiences that cannot be logically justified. But that said, the life of that person more or less remains the same, despite having supernatural abilities or whatever they claim that they have. And if someone claims that they are in perpetual bliss all the time, then that is very questionable because life is not designed like that. There will be ups and downs in life. To me, being unenlightened is better than being enlightened because being enlightened is a very exhausting performance. Whereas being unenlightened, one can be just the way they are. And I believe that true peace comes with this acceptance of the way this organism operates, of the way this organism is conditioned. Because with that acceptance comes the ability to accept other people as they are. So that is the totality of acceptance of the movement of life, which, in my opinion, humble opinion, is the true enlightenment. And not that one person has special attributes which have been attained through some rigorous practice, through years of meditation. What practices do is they teach the mind a skill, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Training the mind is good. It does help with daily living. But at the end of the day, it is a skill. At the end of the day, mind by nature is separation. Therefore, mind claiming that I am enlightened because I have a state of permanent bliss is totally in delusion. Because life hits. And sometimes our idols, our sages, our gurus, our teachers, they fall from the pedestal that we have placed them on. And then we say, oh, he had enlightenment, but now he's lost it. Or she had it, but now she's lost it. Because she's behaving in a particular way that we feel and think should not be. So we believe that, an enlightened person is a disciplined person, which I feel is a complete folly. It's a misunderstanding. If a person is highly disciplined, then it's likely that that person is putting up a very solid performance. But no matter how solid the performance is, there will be cracks. And as I said earlier, the humanity will show at some point or the other. There will be anger, there will be outbursts, there will be falling from the grace in the eyes of others. And this is the game that we play in the name of enlightenment. Because we try to copy other people, we try to follow. In that following, first thing we do is that we lose the sight of our own self. We want to be sage-like. We want to follow their routine. We want to be disciplined like them. We want to spend hours in meditation. But all that movement is coming from this place of centeredness, where there are these beliefs that once I have those, I will be something more. And I will stand apart from the rest. So you see, this enlightenment is the greatest obstacle in the recognition of true peace. Whereas the moment you get unenlightened, the moment you discover your complete uselessness, and you are in total acceptance with that aspect of your life, you are free because you don't have to please anybody. You don't have to force yourself to act in a particular way because you don't require anything from anyone. You're not seeking any validation from anyone. You are just your natural self, the way this organism is designed. And yet there is this knowing that you are the awareness that is witnessing the organism. So awareness is not concerned with how the organism should behave. That is the folly. So trying to speak in a certain way, trying to follow a certain method, a certain principle, trying to identify with a certain ideology. We feel that we can become better, we can become more, we can become whole. But what we forget is that these bindings, they themselves create the separation which keeps the suffering alive. Ramesh Balsekar would say that if you are offered $1 million and enlightenment, take $1 million rather than taking enlightenment. Because at least you will be able to do something with the $1 million. You will be able to, enjoy it. In the case of enlightenment, there will be nothing, nobody to enjoy. You can't do anything with it. And when I hear statements like, but the masters have said that there is a state of perpetual bliss, and they use fancy words, satyam, chaitanyam, pure consciousness, I am Brahman, which are all fine. They are beautiful affirmations. But you see, till there is a person thinking that he or she is Brahman or pure consciousness, there is always this division between what is and what should or should not be. And this division is precisely creating chaos, instability, insecurity, suffering. And that is why we are quick to judge people who, in our eyes, they fall from grace when they perform certain actions. Because we are the one who have set these standards for people. For example, we are very quick to judge if some person is enjoying their life or pursuing certain things in life. We automatically think that this person is low, still engaged in worldly pursuit, so they must not be having this much knowledge. Whereas when we see another person who's completely renounced everything and sitting in the cave and meditating, wearing some orange or yellow robes, we think that, oh, they are self-realized. But you see, in both the cases, both are enjoying the worldly life in different ways. The one who's pursuing romantic relationship may even be better because, romantic relationship or wealth or whatever they may be pursuing may be in a better condition because they are getting to enjoy all the luxuries. But the one that is sitting in the cave wearing the robes is also enjoying, is also bonded, is also identified. I am a sage, I am a sadhu. I don't need, I am not this, I am not that. So when people come along and offer things, seek blessings, they find themselves being put on pedestal, and an image is created that they must sustain in order to be that. And they know that the moment they do something which is not good in the eyes of people, they will lose all those privileges. So the one who's enjoying material pursuits, living life spontaneously, is relatively freer than the one who's created this whole facade, this image of being holy. Now, it is not to say that sadhus and sages are bad or that they're not realized. No, they have understanding. They are realized. But they know that. The genuine ones know that. And they are not following a particular code of conduct to please people. And I have come across such people, such sadhus. But then there are many who put on the robes and follow their own agenda. Similarly, in the material world also, there are both types. It is more the matter that how much one is in acceptance of oneself? How much closer are we to our essence that brings us peace, that brings us self knowledge, Atma Gyan? Not what we wear, not how we behave. Some person may temperamentally be a little reactive, another person may be calmer, but it doesn't mean that one is more than the other. For example, Nisargadatta Maharaj was short tempered by nature, and that was his conditioning since the very beginning. Whereas Ramana Maharishi was calm and cool since the very beginning. It wasn't that enlightenment brought about certain transformations. Enlightenment brought about the realization of the cycle of pain and pleasure with complete acceptance for them. That's it. Then they were free, totally free to be as they are. And this is what Ramana Maharishi says: be as you are. Without worrying about a change, without trying to put up a show. I've seen people who experience sexual urges and they're so hard on themselves. And they say, I'll never achieve enlightenment because this lust is stopping me from achieving enlightenment. So, what they're trying to do is that they suppress all these emotions, all these feelings, all these sensations. And as a result, there's irritation, there's anger, there are outbursts. But if they simply observe and give themselves the freedom to be as they are, in total acceptance of their nature, the way the organism is designed. So if the sexual feeling comes, enjoy the sexual feelings. If an opportunity comes for an activity, enjoy that activity. Bond, love, experience, but they do not live in the chase of an experience. If it comes, it is welcomed. If it is not there, that's also fine. That is true enlightenment. So, a person who's unenlightened is always better off than a person who is enlightened. Because the person who is unenlightened is free to be himself or herself. Whereas an enlightened person has to put up a facade, follow a protocol. You see, there is no such thing as an enlightened person. The person and the word enlightenment do not go together. Enlightenment simply is, and it is the simple understanding that person will always be unenlightened. So rather than putting pressure on oneself to achieve a certain state, thinking that it will make me more, better, greater, it will give me some experience, amazing experience. It is better to be as you are. If you can accept that this is the way this organism was designed, this is the way this mind operates, and there's no flaw in it. It simply is this way. That is when we are able to accept others for who they are. And that's when the true union happens, when we are able to accept others as they are. So self-acceptance is at the core of this understanding, which means the organism may be a certain way, which may be good or bad in the eyes of the world, the society. There are people who often tell me that they can't practice spirituality because they have to earn lots of money. They want to be enlightened, they desire enlightenment without knowing what they're actually seeking. But they say money is the impediment. I have to make a living. I have to feed my family, which are all genuine concerns. So I tell them, what if I give you a simple, pointer. Just accept yourself as you are. Accept the situation as you are, as it is. And that is enlightenment. But you see, it is usually not enough. Because we've been told, we've been given examples of great sages without reflecting on what they truly said, what they truly meant when they spoke about enlightenment. We start chasing a fantasy, and that brings about constant suffering because the mind keeps repeating, I have not achieved, I'm not there yet, there is something missing in my life, quote unquote, my life. So, when this aspect of life, with its never ending cycle of pain and pleasure, is accepted the way it is, that is truly when you become unenlightened.